So I want to start with the Vikings because this is, I mean, they're the team to me in the NFC North that you're circling and that you have to pay attention to most. I think the Bears are right behind them, and it's all because of the quarterbacks. And the Bears case, the new head coach and the quarterback combined. But in Minnesota, all eyes are on JJ McCarthy. And I'm going to talk a little bit about other stories as well. But every report coming out on JJ McCarthy right now is pretty much glowing. It all sounds great. And that is pretty terrifying as a Viking fan because it's like I said last Friday with Justin Jefferson right before his injury, just kind of waiting for that horrible thing to happen. If you didn't see the reel I put out on Friday, I was seeing all the Vikings reports come out, and against training camp, everyone's going to say the best storylines. But to me, it just felt too optimistic. And I was about to tweet out, just waiting for the horrible news, but decided not to. Don't want to throw that energy out into the universe. I want to be positive. I've been working on that for you guys who've been watching the show. I've been working on being positive, which is hard as a Viking fan, but I wanted to do that. And I decided not to put out the tweet. And like 30 minutes later, you get the Ian Rappaport, Schefter, Vikings tweet out, Justin Jefferson has a hamstring injury. Mild one at that. So we can't get too worried, right? Because he's going to be out for a week or so. But those injuries always seem to linger whenever you have a receiver, especially receivers getting them. Like that's something that could carry into the season. And while I'm not super concerned right now, it just felt like one of those moments, and what I equivalated it to in the reel was when you wake up in the morning and like you stub your toe or you spill your coffee on yourself, cut yourself shaving. Like a couple of those little things, you have to almost take a breath and say, all right, this is not happening today. Like we're not doing it this training camp. We're not going to have all these guys get hurt. Like let's just take a beat here before things get out of control. So that's why it's a little terrifying seeing all the great JJ McCarthy stuff, is because you get your hopes up and then reality checks in when you line up across from 11 other dudes who are trying to get after you. It's a different world. And we've seen this before. I remember back in the Cousins days, and I thought Kirk was an awesome quarterback, but there were, you'd hear stories about how great the O-line was looking or whatnot. And then you start week one, it's like, oh, no, same story. So you need to see it really in game action before you believe it. But Alec Lewis put out an article on The Athletic this morning, saying that McCarthy's making all the throws. Most of us have probably seen the 60-yard bomb to Jordan Addison. There's concerns about JJ being able to throw deep, but it looked pretty good there. And most importantly, as Kevin O'Connell said, the difference between college football and the NFL are making those layered throws over defenders. And while we're not going to see highlight packages of that, particularly from training camp, that's something that JJ McCarthy's doing a lot of. And he talks about quite a few plays here where JJ's putting the ball really nicely over defenders, nice touch passes. It's not always about throwing it a million miles per hour, which we know JJ can do. So the more you see all of this stuff come together, and when you think about the Viking situation, we're looking for a quarterback to get the job done. We're not looking for Superman. That'd be great if JJ McCarthy can be like a Josh Allen or like a Lamar Jackson kind of engine. Those are absurd expectations that I'm not for a second saying is going to happen. But we just need someone to come in, and the way Jared Goff conducts that Lions offense is with maximum efficiency, right? He's not as good as Matthew Stafford was in his heyday in Detroit, but he's the right guy for this offense, and he gets the job done. That's what we need from JJ McCarthy. So as long as he doesn't completely implode, which is on the table, the Vikings offense should be very good. The Jordan Addison suspension won't help to start the season, especially building confidence early. But everything's there, and you're seeing the right signs from JJ. And Alec went on, he just said, the Vikings have gotten, and not to spoil his article if you want to see it on The Athletic, but Vikings have gotten in and out of the huddle on time. The operation at the line of scrimmage has been smooth. He used cadences Saturday to create a free play. QB coach Josh McCown patted him on the helmet afterwards. Processing the defensive picture hasn't been an issue either. He executed Saturday's red zone period as well as anyone could have hoped. Everything seems to be going well right now. Contradictory to what's happening in Chicago, which I'll get to a little later. Everything seems to be, and that's understandable, by the way. everything seems to be going well in Minnesota. So from the mental side, from the physical side, JJ McCarthy seems to be, I don't want to say the real deal right now, but seems to be sufficient for what the Vikings need to do to be really good. And if he can be anything beyond Sam Darnold, now we're talking Super Bowl. Because Sam threw for 35 touchdowns last year. We were doing the all-time quarterbacks to throw for over 40 touchdowns on a show last week. There were 13 in the history of the league to do it. And Jack guessed Ben Roethlisberger, who was, his quarterback growing up. And Ben, I believe the most he ever threw for in a season was 34. So Sam Darnold threw for more touchdowns last year than Ben Roethlisberger ever did. I know there's an extra game, but still, like, to kind of put into perspective how great of a season Sam Darnold had. That's one statistic and one fun fact that I was like, wow. So if you want JJ McCarthy to be better than Sam Darnold, we're talking about an elite MVP near level season. So we'll get there. We'll see what happens. But all the signs really, really positive for JJ right now. I don't want this show to be too long because I do want to get it out there. Mondays when pads are going to be on for a lot of these North teams. So we're going to hear more storylines. It'd be nice to get this out a little earlier. So I'll try and keep this relatively reasonable. Because, as everyone knows, maybe a tendency to go on. Dallas Turner is one story that I'm very, very much intrigued by with the Vikings. The buzz is really starting to build up here because everyone's focusing on JJ McCarthy. When you talk about the Vikings defense, at defensive end, you also have Van Ginkel and Jonathan Grenard, two guys who were Pro Bowlers, two guys who actually received Defensive Player of the Year votes last year. So it's a crowded room to begin with already. But with Patrick Jones on his way to Carolina, opens up a spot for Dallas Turner, who, if you're calling him a bust, I just get really tired of people giving up on other people so quickly. Dallas Turner's 21, right? Last year. Like, come on. Let's give it a little time here. Dane Mitsutani of the St. Paul Pioneer Press said, the results couldn't be more clear with a simple look at Turner with training camp in full swing at TCO Performance Center. The muscle he has put on is noticeable, especially in his lower half, and he has managed to do it without sacrificing any of his explosiveness. Brian Flores and O'Connell both brought up too, like this is a dream for Vikings fans. If it, again, training camp, who knows? But if this is true, and we're going to see a Dallas Turner second-year leap, adding him to those two guys I said before with the Defensive Player of the Year voting, it's going to make this defense really scary. And you're hearing Josh Metellus, who congrats on the 3-year extension, well-deserved for a guy who does it all for this defense. Josh Metellus said that this defense is entering its master stage. You throw in Dallas Turner, a really motivated, high-character guy, comes in here and can be a monster up front, play up to the first-round pick that he was. Remember, the Vikings traded a lot to go up and get him. A lot of people thought he was the best edge rusher in his draft class, and we're seeing, Jared Verse came in and was great with the Rams last year. People thought Dallas Turner was going to be better than him. You add another weapon for Brian Flores to mess around with, that'll be a problem. I mean, that this defense, it can really be a problem, and all the signs right now are that they're playing out of their minds. That the communication is top notch. Obviously, they have athletic freaks all over the place, and even the cornerback group that I was concerned about with Isaiah Rodgers and Byron Murphy, Jeff Okudah has actually been the number 3 guy so far, not Mekhi Blackman. So we'll see. And there's another guy who's getting yet another chance in his career, 4th team in 4 years, Jeff Okudah. But this Vikings defense, they have potential to be really good. It just goes to show that the depth of this roster, it's pretty sweet if you're a Viking fan. And we'll see if it all comes together or not. There's worlds where it don't. There are going to be worlds where it does. And in the world that it does come together, it's going to be a really fun year. And I know a lot of people have been talking negatively about JJ lately and the Vikings' chances, but I'm not one to bet against Kevin O'Connell. And when you have a coach as successful as he's been early on, Kevin O'Connell's been there 3 years, guys. He's won 13 games one year and 14 games another. And the other one was he was 6-4 when Kirk Cousins was playing the best football of his career when he got hurt. After a bad start where they should have won a couple of those other games. So this is probably the most talented roster he's had outside of the quarterback position. That means something. But if he can, I'm excited.